Now you can do your...
There we go. So I'm standing here with a good friend of mine, or sitting here with a good friend of mine. This is Bill. And Bill, do your intro.
Yeah, this is HillBilly. I'm here with Rob to talk about the Jacksonville hardcore scene and punk rock scene, I guess.
Yeah, back in the day.
When we were a lot younger men.
That ain't no shit.
Yeah.
God dang it. That could be another whole fucking video there.
Well, I think you're older than me, right?
55.
Yeah, so Rob's 3 years older than I am. I'm 52, and we've known each other since we were, what, 16, 17 maybe, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time.
I remember you from the block.
Yeah.
I remember you from the block.
Hardcore and punk rock and the block here in Jacksonville, man, was the skating place, and of course hardcore music and punk rock music goes hand in hand with skateboarding. But fucking Michael Peterson, a pro skateboarder, has the Block Skate Company downtown Jacksonville here.
Yeah, still fucking shredding.
Yeah, still ripping it up. Buck Smith and Bob and all them guys, they're all fucking way old, man.
Yeah, Buck's a year older than me.
Oh yeah.
When did you start listening to hardcore?
When I was 15, 16 years old, maybe.
Yeah. So, what was the first hardcore album you bought? Or stole?
Honestly, for me, it was probably someone like Screwdriver. They were a Noi band, but it all falls in the same genre of music, basically. But the first band I ever heard was Suicidal Tendencies. The first album or anything I got was definitely Screwdriver.
So what was the first hardcore band you saw live?
Oh God, I couldn't even remember. Really, that God, man, it's hard to say because I worked at the 730 Club, which was a venue here that's no longer in existence in Jacksonville. They had bands like Corrosion of Conformity play there, and Einstein's a Go-Go. It's probably something at Einstein's. Yeah, I would say a band at Einstein's, because there was Liberty Street back then and the Orange Park Armory, where a lot of bands played.
Yeah, blighted area down at the beach, right down the street from Go-Go. So why did you even like hardcore in the first place? What drew you to it?
The people I was hanging out with, I was a skinhead and skateboarding, of course, but a lot of the skinheads I hung with were into the hardcore Oi, punk rock, a lot of punk rock. I wasn't really into punk rock so much as I liked the hardcore better and the Oi music more than I did. Like, people were in love with Exploited. I always remember everyone going to I'd never even seen them. I listen to them some now, but it still ain't my favorite as punk rock as hardcore music, man.
Yeah.
Favorite, probably mainstream that everybody can get a hold of, because the Oi music, of course, was underground, is Agnostic Front. I don't know if that's a question on there, but definitely Agnostic Front's the band that you could buy every day of the week and get an album or whatever. Everybody was big back then. Black Flag and bands like that, Minor Threat, Bad Brains.
I used to love that Agnostic Front. Everybody just what? Cause for Alarm.
When I was in the Army, Bad Brains was the only tape I could get a hold of. And the guys used to, they were like, them guys are really black. And I was like, yeah, man. Like, nobody realized that, a bunch of black guys played hardcore music, man. It was way, like, people wouldn't believe that Bad Brains, they'd listen to them. A lot of guys in the Army, didn't even know what hardcore was, but they would be like, "Oh, what you listen to?" I'd tell them, and they were like, "Well, what's that?" And I'm trying to explain to someone, and then they're like, they would see the album cover, you know, the cassette cover, because you had Walkmans, you know, and they were like, "These guys are black," and I'm like, "Yeah, man," you know. So it's pretty funny, you know. But it was the only thing I could get while I was in boot camp.
Yeah.
So
mine was Dead Kennedys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found Dead Kennedys. I went up to New York on a damn trip with my parents, or with my mom actually, and went into a record store and fucking saw Dead Kennedys. I was like, oh hell yeah, I grabbed it. It was Plastic Surgery Disasters.
Yeah.
The one with the little hand on it.
I don't remember all the album names and everything, but I remember like Graduation and stuff. I had a little party, but I had the Dead Kennedys album that had Rawhide on it. And my uncle heard it playing, and he was, you know, old cowboy song.
You like
I was like, yeah, a little punk rock band doing fucking.
A couple of the Cali bands used to do.
Oh yeah,
I want to be a cowboy.
Yeah.
Oh shit. So, who were the friends that used to hang out at the punk shows, at the hardcore shows? So, like right down from here, right under us, basically, it was Cindy's Good Times Pub, and then it became Spike's. This guy Gary bought it, and when it became Spike's, it became a fucking hardcore punk club.
Yeah.
And you used to come, and I used to see you, and we kind of became the house band there for a little while.
I know it was the first band, Lemonheads, man, at Einstein's, man. It just came to me.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah, you can walk out of my back porch now and see the little courtyard where everybody used to smoke cigarettes at Spike's Doghouse. Every time somebody comes here to see me or something, I'm like, man, we'll go out here. I'm like, remember we used to stand there and smoke cigarette butts? Now it's a appliance store.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man. But back then there was Liberty Street. Like I said, there was... my first bar that I ever worked at was the 730 Club as a bouncer. And then, shit.
Yeah,
Milk Bar. There was Metropolis before the Milk Bar. I was way too young to get in Metropolis. Mm-hmm. And they always had good bands, but like they had all the bands that were up and coming before they became like what people that really listened to hardcore knew who they were. Like I said, Corrosion of Conformity, Minor Threat. Like it started out real small, which them guys been around since like the 80s, you know, the mid to late 80s. But you know, as they got bigger and the scene got bigger, you know, man. But as working there, I was 18. I just turned 18 when I was working at the 730 Club, and it was a bring your own beer place.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it was owned by Ray.
Yeah, and then
Ray was running.
Ray Continental, and then Stevie Ray and the Stilettos, man. They used to live down the street. I hung out with a crew on the other side of town from where I lived, and like started going to a lot of shows with them and everything. And then the Milk Bar, I had everything. A couple of guys worked at the Milk Bar as door guys and bouncers and stuff. So anything that came to the Milk Bar, we were there. But all the band, even some of the bigger labels, man, like Propane before they got big would play there, and I saw Cro-Mags there with John Joseph. Harley wasn't singing.
Yeah.
I mean, if they came, we went, man. Genitortures, you know, man.
Yeah, Milk Bar was awesome.
Guar, you know, they're kind of, I don't know what kind of rock you call them, but they were the prelude to like Slipknot and everything. They were around before them, you know, but like Genitortures, but like the floor show from Guar and everything, you know, man, you know, people like G.G. Allen, which I never really got into. I had a friend that was a major diehard G.G. Allen fan, but just anything to shock the public or some parent or something, you know, man, it was crazy, you know, man. I mean, later on in life, Gardy Lou played here at Spike's, and then they came back years later and played at a place called the Voodoo in Jacksonville.
Oh yeah.
And then I took them home with me, man, you know, because back then bands like that would flop wherever they could, and I happened to have a big enough house, man. We brought them over and partied all night and everything. You know?
They were from Tampa, right?
Yeah.
We used to play with them. We played with them here at Spunx.
Hank was a guy that I went to a lot of, you know, we hung out in the milk bar. Big Hank.
Talking about Big Hank?
Yeah, Big Hank. He's dead now.
Oh, hell yeah, with the mohawk.
But he was in love with Deicide, you know, from Orlando and stuff. And I knew a couple guys that knew them guys real well. So.
Hank was badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like
He died, what, 15 years ago or something?
I don't think it's been that long ago. I got a call from Todd Smith about him. And I think it was Todd that called and told me Hank died.
Maybe I'm thinking of Moose.
Yeah, Moose died about 15 years ago. Kyle Hendricks, Sue.
Kyle Hendricks?
Yeah, Scott Brown. I mean, John and Jerry Temple, all the Beechwood guys here in town.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, there was a lot, man.
Yeah. I need to interview John. I need to interview Darren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darren still goes to a lot of shows. John doesn't go as much anymore. Every once in a while, we'll get Johnny out.
Yeah.
I see Richard Cockrell at a lot of shows, man. Of course, Rob, I see at shows a lot. But it's cool because I try to get a hold of a lot of guys whenever there's a show just to catch up. Instead of it being a funeral, man, it's always nice to catch up with your old friends, and everybody gets married. And yeah, nobody's doing what they were doing when they were 18. So,
So, what about motorcycles?
it's been a big part of my life since I was
Well, you got a
just
shop
as
now,
young
right?
as, yeah, I own a motorcycle shop, but I've probably been riding dirt bikes or whatever since I was younger than that, 12 or 13. I started riding little, 50 little dirt bikes, but I own a motorcycle shop now, Harley Davidson's. It's called Hardcore Cycles here in town. And, that's what I do, man. Motorcycles is
You building custom?
we pretty much do everything. We do no machine
custom.
work, but we can build it, motors, and whatever, man. I mean, we get it done there. So
Yeah. Is it all Harley Davidson or?
yeah, we're Harley. We don't work on metrics or anything like
Well, I mean,
that.
no Indians or no.
We can work on an Indian and stuff, but like no Kawasaki's or Hondas. I don't work on Triumphs, BMWs, none of that. So Harley related, big dogs, like I said, Indian, California motorcycle Borgettes, all that stuff. So anything S&S. But yeah, I've had that business for over 10 years. Being in the hardcore scene, I bounced here for probably 27 years or something in the city and outside, bodyguard work and stuff like that for band members. From rock and roll bands to hardcore bands, whatever, Back in the day, whenever we were kids, Brutal Assault, I loaded equipment for a lot of bands. I had a van, I did stuff with a shotgun, Sacagawea, remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was with Mike.
Yeah, Satan's Dog, there's a lot of bands, Wes and Wally, it was, go to a show, there was a lot of free beer, man, I had a van, load equipment, put a drum set in there, take it to the show, unload, work the t-shirt booth or something. I was underage a lot, for a while there, so I just got a lot of free beer.
Yeah.
Did a lot of shows out at the Palm Valley Fish Camp whenever they were still playing shows out there and stuff, man, before it got all ritzy.
So what's the difference in shows back in the day and shows now?
Honestly,
I know what I think.
Honestly, what I see now is like when we were kids, man, it was all, and it's still this way to somewhat, but everyone is super nice to everyone. They're like, before, if you were from Jacksonville and somebody showed up from South Florida, West Palm or whatever, man, if you weren't with us, man, you were they just beat the hell out of you, man. There ain't I don't sugarcoat things in life. I'm not going to do it on this, but like,
That's right.
if you came from out of town, man, and we didn't know you and we didn't run with you out of town, man, you got the shit kicked out of you. Jacksonville has a reputation. It still does to this day, because I still go to shows out of this city. And the kids that are running the hardcore scene in Jacksonville now, I know very well personally. And they're cock of the walk. They fucking rule the roost, man. The Johnson brothers have a big to-do in it. A kid named Yum Yum, Jeremy, Big Plugs, whatever the hell. But everybody knew him. You know, I mean, everywhere I'd go to a show, everybody talked about Jeremy. Big Ryan, he also went by Yeti. I mean, them kids there, you know, they're doing it now, man. They're the younger generation. But when I was a kid, you know, if we went somewhere, if we went to South Florida or West Palm, I've been to shows in West Palm, and, you know, people trying to jump on us just because we came from Jacksonville and stuff, and it turned into big, huge fights, you know. But now, you still get a little bit, but like, from working shows, I remember I worked one at Jackrabbits, and a kid, he lost his tooth. I mean, the whole tooth, the root came out. And luckily, there's always parents around out front, you know, they don't want to be inside. But the lady, she was like, is there a store close? And I was like, yeah, there's a store right around the corner. And she's like, go get some milk. And I was like, what the hell? And she's like, yeah, it'll save the tooth and whatever. I guess they fixed the kid, but he came up and he was like, oh man, you know, that was bleeding all over the place. And it was the coolest thing in the world. You know, I was at a show, Sick of It All, with Jeff Ed. You know, it's been several years ago, but me and Jeff were together. And I got in the pit. I was younger. I didn't have health problems like I do now. And afterwards, the kid came up, man, and fucking he's, you know, bleeding. And he's like, dude, you broke my nose. And I thought he wanted to fight. And he's like, that's the coolest fucking thing ever, man. HillBilly, you broke my nose, you know, you're a fuck. And I was like, what? And he's like, these were his words. He's like, dude, HillBilly broke my nose. You're a legend. And I was like, what? You know, no, man, I'm just at a show, but I've been doing it for a long time, you know. And it, like, the kid thanked me for breaking his nose at a show, you know. And I was like, that's the craziest thing ever. Like, I'd beat the fuck out of you, you know, yeah. Man. I'm like, nah, hell no, you know. But like, they come up now, you know, you're older too, you know. I'm sure kids come up to you and they're like, Rob, you know, you were in a band that was fucking big in life here, you know, man. I'm like,
the ones that can remember. I gotta agree with you. The shows now are so much more unified.
Yeah,
I got at that freaking Madball show we were just at, the one that just played. That shit was so fun, man. It was rad as fuck. Everybody's fucking slamming all over the place. I got a black eye. Mm-hmm. I had my glasses knocked off, got a black eye. I was happy. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it was fun. It was nothing but fun.
It's cool that they're fun, and I mean, I guess, you know, the violence and, you know, the world's changed so much, but it's about pride, you know, man. We did it because, one, pride, yeah, we were fucking trying to be fucking big bad badasses, whatever, too, you know, but fucking, you took care of your own, man. You took care of people from home, man. But if somebody from out of town got in there, I mean, I've seen some brutal shit in the pit. And like, now, man, I mean, they come around and they're picking each other up, and like, you know, girls are very, 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 oh man, like you didn't see it much.
Yeah, there were no women in the pit.
Back whenever I was younger, you know, man, like we were at, I want to say it was Bad Brains. They came to Milk Bar, and me and 4 or 5 buddies, Rob knows them all, Joe, Rhett, Mike, we all locked arms and we're going around, and Rhett was on the end, and some chick, you know, her nose got broken. Her boyfriend, you know, he's like, oh, you broke my girl's nose. Well, she shouldn't have gotten a pit. I mean, they're 4, you know, rather bigger fellas, you know, and you're doing your thing, man, and some chick gets in there, and then she gets, like, we had a girl, Sue, that ran with us, man. She got in a fight at Exploited in Orlando and got a standing ovation from the crowd and the guys that were working security. Threw the guy out that started the fight, but Sue decked this guy. I mean, just, you know, she could fight though for a chick, you know, and when she got in the pit, she knew what it was about. I mean, yeah. There's old pictures of her with Finn that's like, you know, 2 feet tall, big mohawk, you know. Mm-hmm. I'm like, but she knew what she was doing, you know. Now these chicks get in there and they just think they're supposed to have fun, and nobody's going to push me because the whole world, oh yeah, well you can't do that to a girl where you shouldn't be in the pit, you know.
Yeah.
Y'all call it what you want, but like, If you can't handle it, you shouldn't be in there. You see 30 guys in there swinging around, swinging arms, kicking and doing crazy stuff they're doing now, which they were doing back then in the pit. But you see all this going on, and then you jump in there and you get mad because you get hurt. Anybody, I'm like, it don't work like that.
That is pretty stupid.
I worked a show at Jackrabbits, and a guy was trying to be a pit bully, and an older cat was there, Trish's brother Gio, and he went to go get in the pit because he's a big dude. And when he did, I was like, nah, man. I was like, give me your beer, because it was just the way it was at the bar, you know. And I let him get in the pit. I just needed his beer like anybody. And then this guy that was being a pit dick, you know, Gio grabbed him and threw him against the wall. And then the guy come over, he's like, you got to do something about him. And I was like, nah, because I'm old school. I was like, you were being an asshole. Now somebody handled you, and you want to...
Yeah.
It don't work like that, you know.
I remember just right downstairs at fucking Spike's, there was a guy, big old guy, and he's fucking bullying people in the pit, shoving people around and stuff. And everybody, after a while, people got tired of him, and they picked him up. And I was on stage, I was fucking singing, and I was on stage, and I watched him on his back, and you could tell the look on his face. He had never been picked up like that before. They took him all the way to the door and threw him out on the fucking sidewalk.
Yeah. I was at
everybody was together. They were unified.
I was at Milk Bar. Me and Jeff were in there, and some, you know, back then, man, like I said, I was a skinhead. Anybody with hair. It didn't matter if you had hair, you were a hippie.
Yeah.
You know, but this guy had long, pretty blonde hair, and he was being an asshole, and he was going the opposite way of the way the pit circle was going. So when he come around, man, I just grabbed this dude by his hair, and I put him in the floor, you know, and when he got up, man, he had strawberry blonde hair, you know. I was like, well, you wanted to be an asshole, you know, now you found one, you know. But
yeah. We played, I don't remember who we played with, but it was a captain's club one time down at the beach, and there was fucking fights the whole time. And I remember when they finally turned the lights back on, the show was over, there was about a 8-foot circle of blood with footprints all just footprints all in it, slides and you know, shoe prints all over it. Just completely covering the floor, about the size of an 8x8 rug.
Wow.
You know? And I remember seeing it going, God dang, look at this, man. Fucking blood everywhere. Yeah.
You know, where I live now, there's a venue across the street that was called The Edge.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a cutout in the floor. You know, you wouldn't call it a basement, but like where the bands play. I was there at a Misfits show, and some guy was being a pit dick, and the skinhead I knew, John, man, he come by, and this guy, he just kicked his head right off his shoulders, man, and it was like, that's what you get, you know, man, you want to be an ass, and like, he was bullying kids, you know, man, he was a big guy, and like, I'm like, later on in life, man, I got tired of that shit, you know, and I worked at the Voodoo Lounge here.
Yeah, the Voodoo was badass.
And there was a show up there one night, and I'd sit on the bar. They always put me at the pit because I can see in it. I'm 6'5". But I was sitting on the bar, and this guy, he kept bullying these two kids. And he was just being a dick for nothing. So I just walked up behind the guy, and I just stood there. I did absolutely nothing. I just stood there and kept breathing on him. And then two little kids, I mean, they were little Poindexters, man. But, you know, this guy that was, you know, wanting to be an asshole about it, man, I did nothing but just stand there. And he finally decided to leave, and they turned around and thanked me and wanted to buy me drinks all night. And I was like, man, I don't drink, you know, man, I was working, so.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was just the fact, you know, he wanted to bully someone smaller than him, you know, and I just came up, and I was like, you know, all right, push me around, you know, man. I was like, you know.
If you're a badass, let's see it. Yeah, because somebody that's really a badass, they're going to want to take on somebody that's going to be a challenge, not beat up little kids.
I was at a show at 904, man. Roger quit playing, and it was because of some of my guys, you know. But like I said, you know, you get older and everything, man, and you know, they didn't have maybe 1 or 2 songs left. But Roger, he quit playing, man. From Agnostic Front, he was like, I'm done, you know. And it probably could have been avoided, the fight.
Yeah.
Well, whatever happened, man. And you know, like I said, I was, you know, I was sitting on the bar there. I'm a little, like I said, we're older. I got some health issues. So I was sitting on the bar away from the crowd. The next thing I know, man, I see this big fight break out and some of my guys, and I was like, whatever. But it got pretty rough, and you know, fucking Roger just stopped. He wouldn't play no more, man, and they cut the show short, you know. But I was like, you know, like I said, it's all changed now. Now, 20 years ago, Roger would have played right through it, you know, man. So I owned a bar here in Jacksonville for a few years back.
Which one?
I own Wild Bill's Saloon.
Yeah.
And I used to have shows there. Never had no hardcore. I had some rather different bands, man. Probably people ain't heard of, but I had a few shows there. I had some rock and roll bands there and stuff, you know. But during the we'll say Oi bands playing, I had a policy there, man. I never had a problem in the bar. I had a policy there. Me and a guy named JT, Jerry Temple, owned it. If you wanted to fight, you had to fight me or him, you know. So we kind of, me and him both. He definitely had a reputation in this city.
Yeah.
I met him down at Einstein's and Peeler's and stuff whenever I was very young.
I remember JT.
Yeah, when we had the bar, man, we had a policy. If you wanted to fight, you had to fight me or him. So we didn't have many takers. Kept the peace.
I can't imagine anybody wanting to fuck with Jerry Temple.
Nah.
No.
I kept the peace, man.
That's a bad move.
Yeah, it would have been. It would have been. Him and his brother all through the years. His brother left for the Peace Corps, but I've seen him at the shows at Spikes whenever, after he came home, man, and it was pretty wild, them two, man. And then Darren and Gary Washburn, whenever they were kids, they went to a lot of shows at the Armory in Orange Park and like Liberty Street.
Yeah, Brutal Assault.
Yeah, Brutal Assault days.
Yeah.
Back when Agnostic Front was very young, man, very young,
Yeah.
I remember Sarge, he was one of the Beechwood boys when I first met Roger because of Minus from Marauder that lives here. When he was, first moved to Jacksonville, and Sarge and Benny were talking. And they were talking about a show at the Armory, and they were talking about when they were fighting each other, and now they're backstage drinking beer together, man. It was just the way the times had changed, man. Like over the years, whatever caused the fights, stupidity probably, whatever, like I said, we were skinheads, they were, but they were a different type, and like whatever it turned out, and then years later, everybody's friends and hanging together and drinking beer and telling stories and patting each other on the back,
My neighborhood was like that. That's the way you usually made a friend, was to fight first.
Mm-hmm.
If you could fight and beat the shit out of each other, then that was all right.
Yeah, but back then people could still fight, and nobody was calling the cops, and if you had a problem, you went out there and you duked it out. And
yeah.
If you, like you said, man, I met some good friends. I started out fighting, and then later on, we got to be real close and drink beer together, and
Yeah, because they got heart.
So
that was what it's really about.
Nowadays, it's way different, man. Way, way different. Everybody's just out to call the cops, and it ain't even got to be you or the guy you're fighting. Somebody else will, Now everybody's got one of these things in their hand, a camera. If they had had one of these whenever me and Rob were young kids at shows, man, we'd still be in prison.
Yeah, we might not still be. We'd still be in fucking jail. I had a guy fucking pull me, do some stupid shit on the fucking side of the road, and then he followed me to a parking lot, and I get out of the fucking parking lot. I'm like, what in the fuck are you gonna do? And he's got his phone out and he's fucking filming me. I'm like, what in the fuck are you doing with that? I said, you went and followed me here to film me? That's some pussy ass shit right there. I don't know what, I never saw it. It never went viral or anything. I never saw anything from it. I was like, ooh, I'm already in a parking lot. We're already being able to be seen here.
Well, that's the thing. They put it on up there, and then, someone just gets their ass whipped either way. They don't tell you why or anything, what caused it or anything else. Like I said, after bouncing for almost 30 years, probably was 30 years. I don't know. It was a long time, but I worked at a place and like there was a big fight, and then it made the news and all this, but nobody asked. It involved a lot of bouncers and it involved a lot of patrons, but what what caused it? Well, they didn't tell you that the guy that caused it was hitting his old lady, and a security person for the venue put a stop to it. And then the guy's friends got mad because the dude that was hitting his girlfriend and slapped her was being drug out. So then they wanted to jump on the guy working security, and then of course security, you know, it counteracts.
Yeah.
And it just happened that the security guys were, you know, better off at knowing what they were doing in a typical fist fight, you know, or how to subdue someone. And then, you know, it goes from bad to worse, but nobody explains why. And then, you know, the guys that won, you know, oh, they're all bad guys now, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, a guy literally spit in a guy's face. I mean, I don't care who you are. That's where I come from, man. You get beat up, man, or I'm gonna try.
That's the way the news works. It ain't. All they want to do is get sensational bullshit. Something that's going to sell. Mm-hmm. But
I mean, the hardcore scene now has definitely changed a lot. They are like the shows are a lot nicer and everything. Like years ago, when I met all the guys from Blood for Blood, you know, because of Minus, you know, and they're like, you know, being from Jacksonville, they're like, oh, we heard you know Fred Durst, and I was like, yeah, I know Fred. They're like, really? Is he hard? And I was like, no, man. You know, I mean, the guy lived at the beach. I used to go to his parties, and I'm not talking shit about Fred, but I was like, he wasn't like, you know, like Blood for Blood. Them guys really are from the
He's not hard. Yeah, he's not hard like Blood for Blood.
No, them guys straight up are from the streets of Boston, Massachusetts. You know.
Yeah. And
grew up doing and living it. You know, Fred had a nice house at the beach, man. We used to go party at, man. You know, I mean. I remember seeing his mom at a Godsmack show, and she's like, you look familiar. And I was like, yeah, I used to come to, you know, parties at your house when I was a lot younger, you know, so.
Yeah.
But, yeah, them guys there or something, you know.